Hi, Sam here from Unique Coaching. Okay, so this is my story of why I do what I do and how I became the person I am now. And I am work in progress. I'm forever evolving. However, I'm more authentically myself. And I haven't always been. I've started to become my authentic self more so in the last 5 years. I started my journey 7.5, 8 years ago. So yeah, but I didn't know any different before. I was a very active woman. I was a teacher, a makeup artist. I was in shows, singing and dancing. They were just for fun, amateur stuff, musical theatre. I would walk, I would do Zumba, I would dance, I was very active and very busy. And I had my first child, and I was absolutely thrilled to become a mother for the first time. I was an older mum, and yeah, it was the best thing ever. And I noticed I started getting really tired, really hurting, widespread pain, lots more symptoms. I was told that it was just normal when it was normal to be tired when you had a newborn, and I got thrown some tablets and to help. But they didn't. Anyway, long story short, after 3 years, I was finally diagnosed with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome. I tried lots of alternative things just to help me manage it, because I had been told that I would always have them. And so for me, it was all about managing it. And I tried acupuncture, I tried cognitive behavioural therapy, I tried deep tissue massage, I went to Pilates. All these things helped to manage the symptoms. And I lived my life as best I could. If you're told you always have something, then you just have to make the best of it. You have to just carry on whatever. And I have always been someone who, I'll push through whatever. And so I did. I pushed through, and everything started to get worse because I was pushing through, and then I would crash, and then I would have to rest, and then I would push through, and everyone would say to me, "Oh, but you look fine, you must be okay." But then fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome are invisible illnesses, and just because I looked okay didn't mean to say I was okay. As with all invisible illnesses, there's lots of them, and people present okay on the outside because they get used to having to almost put on a mask, pretend they're okay. I used to have to push through to do everything, but that was how I accepted it had to be. Even though having my first child was a trigger for fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome, I wasn't going to let it stop me having a second child. I'm an only child. I wanted 2 children if I could have them. And so I had a second child, and absolutely thrilled with that. And things were getting progressively worse. However, I knew that I just had to carry on the best I could, until 9 years after the onset of my original symptoms, because it had taken me 3 years to be diagnosed, but I'd had that for the 3 years. I had a gynecological operation that triggered everything to extreme levels. It triggered all the symptoms, especially the chronic fatigue syndromes. The chronic fatigue, as I said in my last video, I'm perfectly imperfect, so I'm leaving any mistakes in. I do. It's just me, and it's how I am and how I live my life. And so I couldn't push through. I was virtually sofa bound. I had 2 young children. I had to use sticks to walk around to go and get them from school, and it was a 5-minute walk. That absolutely, it just wiped me out and caused a lot more pain. But I did the best I could. I kept going. as much as I could, which wasn't very much at that point. And I kind of accepted that if what the doctor had said was true, that I would always be like this. I realised that I needed to, I would need to register disabled because I couldn't get around very much, and I saw that as my only option. However, I've always been a bit stubborn, and I've always been a determined woman, and I thought there must be a way out. I had seen along the way, there'd been a couple of things that I'd seen saying, I can cure you, da da da, and I actually, when I was at that desperation point, this was my desperation point, this was my, right, I'm going to try something. If it doesn't work, then I will accept that I will register disabled, and, I will live my life like this the best I can. And so I found something that was specifically for people with chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. It was a 3-day course, and it was based on NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. I had no clue what that was. I hadn't heard of it. And now I'm a master NLP practitioner. So, at that point, I believed that I wanted to get back to how I was before the operation. I wanted to be able to push through again, and be able to actually function as a mother, as an adult, as, someone who was working. I wanted to be able to function again, even if it meant that I had to crash and burn like I did before and push through too much. And after those 3 days, I improved greatly. I still had fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome, but after all, that's what I wanted. Well, I didn't want that, but I wanted to be able to get back to how I was before. And I did. And I was a little bit more positive as well. And I started seeing things in different ways. I had been told that I would be cured in 5 months, and 5 months came and went, and I was still a lot better. However, I started to get worse because I'd really clung on to that fact that I was going to recover, and I didn't. I can now see that it's because I only half believed. But at the time, I was like, I'm doing all the techniques and I'm not cured, but I was much better. Anyway, about a year after the first course, I realised that actually NLP had helped me greatly, and maybe I needed to do some more. So I did a 2-day course, which kick-started my belief. I had thought that I would never be able to do Zumba again, and I went to a Zumba class. I did 30% effort. I cried all the way through, happy tears, because I never thought I'd be there. And I was totally wiped out and in a lot of pain after that. However, I did it. And so I started doing that regularly, even though, yes, it was too much for me. However, it helped my soul. It helped me to actually realise that I could live properly again. I could be that person I wanted to be. And I knew that my way to recovery was, and I knew in here, was to become a practitioner. And I didn't do the course that I was originally going to do, but the course that I did, that was more because of personal reasons, logistics and location and stuff. The course I did actually was based on somatic repatterning and dancing, and it actually was what I needed to get out of my head and into my body. And from the first day of that course, I fully believed that I was going to recover. And on the last day of the course, it wasn't easy. Don't get me wrong. I had to go through a lot of processes, a lot of shedding. On the last day of that course, I metaphorically threw fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome out of the window. Now, that's why I had done the course, partly to do that and partly because I wanted to help others. However, what I hadn't realised is that I was going to change so much as a person. Suddenly, and I hadn't realised that I was so stressed. I mean, I'd had IBS most of my life before then, and everyone had said, oh yeah, you get that if you're stressed. No, I'm not stressed. I didn't realise until I changed so much and I was completely laid back, completely carefree. I was confident, really confident. I'd always been confident in what I did, so I knew that I was a good singer, so I was confident. I knew that I was a good teacher, so I was confident in that, but I wasn't confident in myself. I had no self-confidence. I didn't like myself very much. And suddenly I loved myself. Suddenly I realised that all the things I'd ever believed weren't actually my beliefs. I'd taken on all the negativity from other people, and suddenly it was like opening up another world to me, and I started to become very different. And so I view it as, you know, actually, I am really grateful and really thankful for having fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome to extreme levels, because if I hadn't have done, I wouldn't have looked for a way out. I wouldn't have discovered NLP, and NLP completely changed my life. And I use it as, I don't just coach with NLP. That is the modality that I use. I do use other things as well, and I life coach, I intuitive coach. And I am a healer, because when I started becoming the me I am now, I then discovered that I was a healer. And so, you know, I have all these different ways. I love variety. I've always loved variety. And, you know, I've had lots of people say, oh, you have to niche in this, you have to niche in that. However, variety is me. I like doing lots of different things, and all my different things feed into each other. My ideal client would actually be someone who we just have a session, and whether that session is NLP or coaching or Reiki or a bit of spirituality, doing a few oracle cards, whatever comes up in that session, you know, is meant to be there. In fact, quite often a Reiki client will end up being a coaching client. That doesn't mean that I won't do specific, you know, if someone just wants coaching, they just want Reiki, that's totally fine too. However, I find that a mix is really good as well. So that's me, that's my story. I am very excited because this year I will be launching my book, which will reflect my story. It will have lots of information in there about me and my story, but also some techniques and some things that you can do. It started off as the book version of my online course, from surviving to thriving, which you can find more out about on my coaching page. However, it's kind of evolved. It's kind of evolved from that. It is, but then it's so much more as well. Anyway, I won't tell you too much more about that. You can find out all about that when it's out, and I will put more information on my website. So thank you for listening to my story. And if you would like to be coached by me, or you would like Reiki healing, or you just want to know more, you want to have a half an hour free consultation, then do let me know. I do attract lots of people who have chronic illness. However, I also attract lots of people who just want to become the best version of themselves, or they just, maybe they have some kind of adversity they want to get over, or they might have a goal that they want to achieve. They might be new startups in their own business, and they're having a lot of mindset issues over that. I can help with all of that as well. So yeah, it would be great to hear from you. Thank you for listening to my story, and yeah, have a look at my website and see if there's anything that resonates with you. Hear from you soon. Love and light. Bye bye.